Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. Welcome to King Steve Ayers here for another exciting episode. We've got an exciting episode for you here today, and today we're talking about downloadable content. And more specifically, I'm going to talk about why downloadable content even exists. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, I know why downloadable content exists. Do you or do you? I mean, you might. You very well might, or maybe you don't. But I'm going to go over it anyway. Some of you might know exactly what I'm going to talk about, and some of you might have absolutely no clue. So let's dive right into it and talk about this issue. So basically, where did downloadable content? Well, if you don't know what downloadable content is, basically it is like, let's say you get like a base game like Call of Duty or Battlefield or Overwatch or anything really, and it's just like added content to the game. So like it's like guns, skins, maps, anything really, absolutely anything. And microtransactions are the same thing, by the way. That is DLC. That is, you download that content, you put that into the game. That is the same thing. I don't care what it is. It is downloadable content, and you put that in, and these things cost more money than the base game, or not more money, but they cost extra money in order to add to the game. Well, the way that this started is, we have been in this new console era, we'll call it, ever since about, we'll say, the N64 version, alright? And ever since the N64, the games have been about $60. Alright? They have not gone up. So, and look at us now. The games nowadays cost $60. Well, if you guys know anything about economy, anything at all, you know that there's something called inflation. All right. And what happens is, as things get older, there's inflation because the cost to build, the cost to make, increases, so that your product has to increase in order to demand with the times. But that hasn't happened with video games. And that's where downloadable content has come in, right? So what basically has happened is content creators have been like, how can we do this? Because the fear was, if we increase the price of the game, then people would not purchase the game. It would be too high to a point where people wouldn't be able to pay for people would not be able to pay for the game, and it would scare them off, and they'd be like, well, we can't pay for the game now because it costs too much and I don't have that much money. And so they created downloadable content so they could create a base game, and then they could add a couple more things like some skins and stuff like that, just to make people happy, and they would make back the money, and that way the games could still stay at $60 and they could still make a little bit of money, and even just break even just altogether, so that they could survive and make more games. This is not a bad thing. I think at the beginning, DLC was a very good thing. It was a very good thing for a couple reasons. You know what I'm saying? Like, people didn't have to spend more money than they had to, and then you've got people that spent money on the overall game, and then they would pay for, like people that didn't want to pay for the DLC. The people that did pay for the DLC paid for themselves, and then other people as well. And this is a good thing and a bad thing, and I'm going to get into that in a second. But first, I'm going to touch on this whole issue of DLC in general. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it has become a very bad thing in our day. It's become something that has not only made people back their money. It's not about staying afloat anymore. That's the thing I'm trying to say. DLC has become way more about staying afloat. It's become about how much more money can we make? How much can we cut? It was originally about we can make a little bit more content and sell it to them, and now it's been about what can we cut out of the game and sell for them for even more money. And everyone knows this. Everybody knows this about DLC. Like, that's what they do. They cut out the weapons of Black Ops 3. They give us the maps and more weapons in Battlefield 4. They freaking are selling us different players and all kinds of stuff in FIFA and in Madden and all these other things. By the way, this is going to be a side story that really relates to this, but this is ridiculous. This is how I know, right, that the microtransactions and downloadable content and DLC has just been ridiculous lately, okay? So there was a kid who's a massive fan of FIFA, right? And he got a hold of his dad's credit card. Now, unannounced to him, he didn't really know that he was spending money. He just thought he was getting stuff for his dude. But he spent over $2,000. I think it was like $2,000 on microtransactions in FIFA. How the freak do you spend $2,000? Okay, this happened about a year ago. I'm pretty sure it was on. It was in an article, and I was reading it. I don't know where the article was, but I remember this article, and I was like, "What the? How? When you can spend $2,000 on microtransactions, that's when you know you've gone too far, man. That's how you know this stuff is screwed up and is absolutely ridiculous. This kid spent $2,000 on. Now his dad went to Microsoft because it was through the Xbox, and Microsoft was actually really nice enough to refund the man for all of the money. But dude, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely absurd. When we get to the point where we can spend $2,000 on microtransactions for a game, that's absurd. I know people that have spent like $1,000 in general on Black Ops 3, but they spent $2,000 on FIFA. And that's the other thing. When you like a game that much, sometimes you don't realize how much that you're spending. Like, I know people that just specifically they buy Call of Duty and they buy the DLC, they get all of them season pass, and then recently with Black Ops 3, you've got stuff like the supply drops that cost even more money. But you know what? That's the only game that they buy, so they don't have a problem dropping all that money. And for me, it's like, that's absurd. But for people like me that buy all these games, it's absurd. I can't buy all of the content. I can't try to get all this content. It's just not likely, and it's about scheming how much money they can get out of me, and I hate it. Oh, I hate this. I hate this so much. DLC was meant to be a good thing for developers. It was supposed to be a way to stay afloat. And now it's become about how much money can someone pump out of my wallet. How much money can they take from me? Like, that's what it's become. And I hate it, man. I absolutely hate it. And it needs to go away, man. Bring me back, and this is the thing. And this is where I'm going to talk about DLC and how, just in general, I don't like it because, okay, I'm going to go into a point where, okay, now, if we had Black Ops 3, I'm just using Black Ops 3 because that's the one that comes to mind, right? If we had Black Ops 3, right, and we had everybody buy the game, but they didn't buy any of the DLC, we didn't buy any of the season passes, we didn't buy any of the supply drops, we didn't buy anything at all, they would not make any money off of Black Ops 3. They wouldn't. They would be in a loop. They would not make their money back from Black Ops 3. It's still that's still in the Arivnia. That's still part of the game. DLC has become that much into the gaming system that if you don't buy the DLC, if the DLC is not popular and if it does not sell, it will hurt the company in the end. It will, and I think that's the big crucial thing that we need to realize here is that DLC has that much of an effect even on big gaming companies like Activision. Like, they still need that in order to survive. In order to make their money back on the game, they need DLC. Like, it is essential. Oh, man. And so, it's absurd and it's terrible. But the problem is, like I said, they've made it into something much bigger. They've made it into something that they can make tons and tons more money on. And that just sucks, man. That just sucks. The other thing that I really never liked about DLC is I'm not paying... when I pay for that game, going along with what I just said, somebody else is paying for my game with me, right? I pay that $60 so that I can buy and own that game. The problem is, that's not true. Okay, that's the bottom line. That's the thing that really makes me mad and upset is I don't actually pay for that game. Like, I do pay for that game. I pay $60 for it. But that $60 doesn't pay for that full game. Somebody else buying the season pass or the DLC, that's what's really paying for the rest of that game. And I hate that. I hate the fact that I can't own a game because I'm not actually paying for the whole thing. And that, man... that makes me mad. That makes me upset. And I don't think many people have thought about that. I mean, I've been going over that in my head lately, and it just really gets at me, man. It just really gets at me. Like, why on earth can we just not buy the whole game? Why? Why do we have to pay for the DLC? Why can't you just... oh, man. So, oh, man. I know I've kind of ranted in this a lot. I am just kind of getting my thoughts out and letting you guys know how I think and how I feel and all this other stuff. And oh yeah, it's ranting. It's been a rant day for me. Oh, okay, guys. I think that's about all I really wanted to say. I just wanted to tell you that DLC existed at the beginning, and at the beginning it wasn't something bad. It was just something to stay afloat. And now it's turned into something about greed, and I just I hate it. I hate it a lot. So if you guys like what I had to say here, hit that like button. It would really mean a lot. I would really enjoy. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Do you think DLC is still good? Is it still bad? What do you guys think about it? Do you think that there needs to be a change? Do you think DLC still needs to exist? What do you think changes need to happen to the DLC? Just let me know down in the comments below what you guys think about all this. I will see you guys in the next episode. Have a fantastical day, guys, and bye-bye.
Hostile care package overhead.
Ruin.
Losing Charlie. Enemy has Alpha.